Hello and welcome to It's Fate. I'm Morgan Parker.
I'm Katie Christiansen.
And this is episode 12, where we will be discussing chapters 43 through 51 of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas.
Personal question of the episode.
Yes, our Pequot. I have one this week. What are you currently reading?
Well, clearly, obviously, I'm reading A Court of Mist and Fury for our pod.
Yes.
I've been a little bit in mourning since finishing Throne of Glass. I finished it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I haven't really read other things. However, I did get 2 books from my mom. One of them is called Mame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it's about, but she said it's good. And the other one is Crying at H Mart.
Oh,
which has been going around like social media circles. So
yeah,
I'm excited to read them. I also have there are some books that I've been like wanting to read. I remember one of them was named Milk, and I think it's like a lesbian love story or something like that.
Okay, is that the one that the movie was made? It's kind of old. There was a movie made called Milk.
Idea.
Oh, it wasn't lesbians though.
I think
it was
gay.
Gay, yeah.
Yeah. It has something to do with that's all I remember about it.
Same.
So
and I didn't even watch it. I just remember but it was a movie. It was like a trailer for a movie. It was called Milk.
It probably is.
And it was that one guy with the nose.
With the nose.
That one actor. I'm trying to describe the actor.
Okay. Does he have eyes too?
Yeah. And a mouth.
I would have never guessed.
Oh, and 2 ears.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Well, that's a good TBR. Not a lot of fantasy.
No.
Little break.
I need a little break.
Yes. I'm having a hard time finding another fantasy author that holds a candle to SJM.
I'm sure they're out there.
I'm sure they are too. And here's the thing. I have read some other good fantasy novels, but just not at the same level. Which is fine. Like if this is my best forever, I'll be okay.
Okay. You finished Stone of Glass.
I did.
Is that number 1 over ACOTAR?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
What about you?
That's really hard for me.
I know.
Because I don't love the beginning of Throne of Glass series. Like the books aren't as strong to me, but once it's like after Heir of Fire, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Are you reading anything else?
Yes, I am reading. I just started it a couple nights ago, called The Midnight Library.
I read that one.
You have?
Yeah, it's really good. I like it.
And then I am listening to Dutch House by Anne Patchett. So also not fantasy. I read 2 fantasy novellas after the new year. It's an 11-book series, and they're all bound by something, and they're all short, like 200 to 250 pages.
These.
Yeah, so 4 of them were free on the last Stuff Your Kindle Day in December, and so I got those 4, and I read 2 of them. They were good. One was better than the other, and the one that was better, I really liked the plot, but because it was a novella, there was like no real plot development. Everything happened so fast. So I think that's kind of hard for me. Even like a short story romance, I'm like, but you don't even know each other. So how are you in love? But maybe that's just because I've been spoiled by, love romances that take multiple books, and each book is 600 pages.
Yeah.
And but I'm excited with Midnight Library. It's different. Same with Dutch House. They're both very different, and it's nice to switch it up a little bit.
Okay. While you were talking, I was listening, but I was also thinking about Throne of Glass.
Tell me, what are your thoughts? I could talk about it forever.
I want to decide if it's, because I do think it's better than ACOTAR right now, but I want to finish obviously I want ACOTAR to be finished.
That's also hard.
And then I can determine more which one I like more.
Yeah, there's something about, because someone had asked me if Crescent City is then my least favorite, and I'm just like, well, it's hard to choose because it's
different.
When it's not finished. And then I'm like, well, ACOTAR isn't either, even though it almost could be. I think that's why I feel confident saying Throne of Glass is my favorite.
I think Crescent City is so different than Throne of Glass. Isn't Crescent City like high fantasy? I mean, I guess so is
it?
Throne of Glass.
I don't know. What qualifies something as high fantasy?
I don't know.
ACOTAR definitely isn't.
No.
ACOTAR is a romance novel that is fantastical.
Yeah.
But I still love it.
Same.
It's a good intro to fantasy. I actually just got one of my closest friends to start reading it. Well, I gave her a copy of the first book because she never been a fantasy girly, and then she read Fourth Wing.
Oh.
And she loved it. And I was like, okay, then hello. You need to read ACOTAR. And so I kind of gave her, she's like, tell me a little bit more than what's on the back of the book because I want like a little bit more background. And so I did without spoiling anything. And she's like, okay, I'm excited. And I said, just get through the first book too. Like the first book is good, but just know the rest is what like has the world just ogling. Is that a word?
Oogling? Ogling. What's the
Ogling.
vowel?
Eagling, igling, oogly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morgan, if you can see us, she fashioned us today. This is Morgan's closet.
Yes.
Can you explain why you chose these pieces?
So you can definitely see it on Katie's. Maybe you can see it on mine, but we're both wearing silver sparkles. And this is because in today's recap, we will be discussing Starfall. And so this is the closest we could get to dripping in starlight. We don't have a book. We don't have a dress like Farrah's, nor do we have the money to go buy one.
Nor will I probably ever have a dress like Farrah's.
Yes, and that's okay. I've come to terms with that. I'm not going to wear ball gowns regularly.
No. I would actually prefer not to. So
I would not be mad about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, this is why you're supposed to be like Farrah and I'm supposed to be in my Illyrian leathers.
But do you remember how much of a fit Farrah threw over wearing dresses at the beginning of the first book?
I could see you throwing a fit if someone told you that you needed to wear a dress.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I could see you being like, why? Why are you making me?
Yeah. Is this, are you trying to make a social statement? Because I'm trying to make a social statement by staying in my pants. It has to be my choice. But yeah, I wouldn't mind being like
the main character.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Aelin because, well, really at the beginning of the series when she like has her tunics and her pants or leggings or whatever when she's fighting, but then she puts on her pretty dresses for gowns and socializing. I'm like, that's a nice combo.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also, the giveaway.
Yes, thank you to all who entered.
We announced it on Instagram, but I did want to do a little shout out of our winner.
Yes.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yes, Lisa won.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate all your support.
Yes, we really do. I think she listens on both Spotify and Apple. She'll like switch between. I'm like, that's really nice.
Our plays will get much more.
Yeah, our number one fan is actually Griffin, who just jumped into the camera.
And who's trying to snuggle with me. He messed it up. My iPad.
Oh, hi. If you are watching on YouTube, you will see that there is suddenly a dog sitting between us. This is Griffin.
This is Griff. He looks like Tamlin's beast to me.
Yes, he is the Tamlin of our little family.
He kind of acts sassy like that too sometimes.
He has claws.
He does have claws. No talons.
No talons. Oh gosh. I read something about the talons. I'll share later. Okay. Let's go.
Okay, so chapter 43, we left off with the gang at the Court of Nightmares where they stole the orb in order to show the human queens Valeris. I don't know why in my head I was like,
you know it's Valeris.
I know. I do this almost every week where I'm like, that's not how you say the word.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to be like, okay.
Oh my goodness. Valeris. I don't know why I said that. Okay. They leave Hewn City. I did not mess it up this time. And Rhys flies him and Farrah to a mountaintop and then apologizes for having to act the way that he did, aka sexy.
I know. She was just his little sex kitten.
She really was. Farrah asks him not to get protective over her in a territorial way that Tampon did. And Rhys says he won't lock her up, but he will never let anyone hurt her and will kill anyone who is a threat to her.
He might as well scream, I'm your mate.
I know, seriously. He really should.
Yeah.
they basically get in an argument where Reese doesn't want Feyre comparing him to Tamlin, which I felt like was very justifiable because she always is in her head.
I agree.
And then he calls Feyre out for not knowing what she really wants, and Feyre calls him out for hiding behind the bad boy mask. Something that I noticed, he tells Feyre that he will be written as the villain, and then Tamlin will be written as the hero in history. That's what he feels like. And Feyre is like, no. What about my story? What's my place in this? And I love that she calls him out on centering history around males. Who's the real hero here? It's not Reese. It's not Tamlin.
It's Feyre.
Feyre.
This is literally her story.
Yes. So I just love that she's like, hey, you don't get to center this conversation around yourself just because you were feeling all of this.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So they leave super pissed at each other, and Feyre goes to the garden and then secretly is kind of like wanting and waiting and hoping that he follows her.
So middle school.
I know.
Again.
I know. During her time waiting, she reflects about what she wants, and she's like, okay, I want him. And she's done playing games and being scared, and she's ready to just tell him. But he never comes after her. Would you have gone after her if you were Reese?
I definitely would have been Feyre and been oh my god.
Okay, I want to preface this. This is the first day back from like break
for you.
For me, am I struggling? So I'm probably rubbing off on you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I would have definitely done what Feyre did and thought, I'm going to go wait and he's going to follow me because I'm the main character in this story. I don't know. I probably would have, because I would have, here's one of my many flaws is even if I don't think I did something wrong, if I know someone's upset with me, I will seek them out and like try to apologize because I don't want them to be mad at me.
Is that a flaw?
But sometimes I didn't do anything wrong, but I'll go apologize. And like, I don't know.
I know what you mean.
There definitely should be some sort of conversation.
Yeah.
And typically I have done something wrong, but I feel like I will over apologize or maybe try to make it like temper things so that they don't feel so bad or sad when like maybe they should feel bad and sad, and it's okay that I did some things but not all the things. So long story short, I probably would have done both of what they did depending on what side I was on.
Yeah, I would have been like Feyre, and I would not have been. Yeah, I would have gone after Feyre because I also have a hard time with people being mad at me. But I also don't like confrontation.
Ooh. So I'm also a verbal processor, and I have to process things externally. So I feel like what we learn about Reese in this situation is that he is an internal processor and he needed to go be alone and sort through his feelings, whereas I'm like, we need to talk this out now and figure it out now, which is not always great when the other person's like, no, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, yes, you have to be.
Yeah. And Feyre is like, hey, come talk to me.
Yeah, so she wants to figure it out, and he's like, no.
Yeah. Okay, so after he never comes after her, we find out that someone has a track on Reese's magic, and that's how they've been kind of finding.
Yeah. How do you think this works?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea. I was thinking it would make more sense if Feyre was the one being tracked, because it's like the cauldron, like she, you know what I mean?
She was made.
She was made like calls to life. I don't know though how this works.
It must be some sort of spell, which I forget that there's spells in this world too, because it's not talked about as much, although it does come up later. Yeah, it is unexplained. We don't know. One of the many things that's unexplained.
So we also find out that something called Starfall is the next day, and this is something only the Night Court celebrates.
Yes, and it says that the rest of the world celebrates Ninsar, which is the day of seeds and flowers, which I googled. It's not a real holiday. It relates to nothing.
This is very interesting.
I know. I feel like everything.
I feel like she probably purposely was like, no.
I need to have something random.
Yeah. Just so that we're not trying to connect something that's like not real.
Right, like all the Irish stuff.
Yeah.
Like if this was Irish or Welsh, I'd be like, this means something.
Yeah. She didn't let us this time.
Sad.
Amryn and Feyre have a cute little moment where they express how grateful they are for Rhys, and Feyre is really regretting all the things that she said to them during their fight. And then Feyre keeps trying to write Rhys a note, but he never responds. And I absolutely hate being ignored.
I would be pissed to the nth degree.
Okay, this is like very little sister of me. I hate when people take too long to answer my question. Like, because I don't know as a big sister if you know this, but when little siblings ask or say something, it's often ignored.
I'm so sorry.
Like, no one cares. If you're like, where are we eating? Silence. And you're like, cool. Thank you. Thank you for like acknowledging that I exist. It's a very common thing. So like ignoring, Ty knows this about me. I'm like, do not ignore me. I will like, it just, I can't.
Oh my gosh. Well, now I know.
You don't ever ignore me. So.
I don't. You should see my text thread with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I send about 8 to 10 messages before he responds to one of them. And they're all about different things. And here's the thing, though. We'll typically be in the same house. And I'll just keep texting him my thoughts. And normally he's working. So, you know.
Well, he has an excuse.
But then he'll just respond to the first one. And I'm like, what about the other 10 questions I asked you? Those are just as important. And if he, God forbid, if he doesn't answer his phone after the second ring, not the second ring, the second call.
I was like, second ring, dang.
No. Like, if I call you once, okay. If I call you twice,
shame on you.
It's time to answer the phone. How dare you?
Call you 3 times.
Oh, God forbid. I'm dying. Don't you know?
I'm glad you also feel this way.
Yes. Oh, man. All right. Chapter 44. Feyre wears a dress that looks like she is dripping in starlight on Starfall, which we have our starlight on, as we talked about earlier. Rhys is still nowhere to be found when Cassian flies to the House of the Wind for the party.
Okay, while they're flying, Feyre is thinking like, I want wings. I really want to fly. And I'm like, Feyre, you're literally a shapeshifter. Like,
I know.
You could if you want.
But remember, shape-shifting still freaks her out.
I don't blame her. Like, obviously she could die if she flew and didn't know what she was doing.
That's a really good point.
But then I didn't realize that this party happens at the House of Wind.
Oh.
Which is really cool. That, I don't know, maybe it shows a little bit of reflection that, like, Rhys is opening up his home to, like, everyone. Also, the House of Wind must be, like, so tall. It must be so big.
Yes, and it's definitely not everyone, because she talks about seeing the city below celebrating, but it does show that, like, it's people not just the inner court. Like, he has more people that he's close to in the city, more friends. Like, maybe he's invited that chef from his favorite restaurant. Like, he's hosting, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
We get Moore's point of view on her past with Cassian and Azriel. What do you think about her decisions here and like the events that took place?
I get it. I think she's very justified into doing what she did. The craziest thing, I think, is that it's been like 500 years. And I'm like, 500 years is a long time. Why are we still in this like love triangle? Like more, why haven't you been like honest with Azriel? Why haven't you been honest? I think Cassian knows how she feels, but like,
yes,
he doesn't feel like it's his place to tell Azriel, which I totally get.
Yeah,
but
she's really doing an injustice to Azriel. Like I feel like she's in the wrong there.
I think so too.
And I know, well, we'll get to like why later, but I also was wondering, do you think she told Cassian that she was basically using him, or do you think she just used him?
I think she just used him.
I think so too. That's what made me feel icky.
Yeah.
And obviously it seems like they've resolved it and like they're all good now. But I was like, I get why you felt like you needed to do what you needed to do, but he probably would have slept with you even if you told him the truth.
He absolutely would have.
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't
He wouldn't have been night. He'd been like, let's, do
it right now.
Cool, I'm gonna have fun and we're taking down some evil people's plans.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rhys returns and tells Feyre he wasn't punishing her. He just needed time. And I kind of alluded to this earlier, but this is literally how me and my husband are when it comes to conflict. I'm like, talk to me now, talk to me now, talk to me now. And he's like, no, I need time. And it's hard.
Okay. what I didn't like is that Reese didn't tell her, like, hey, I just need to, like, gather my thoughts.
Totally.
Because then it does come across as, like, you're purposely ignoring me.
Yes, at least respond to one of her notes saying, like, hey, I will see you at Starfall. I need time to think.
Yeah.
Great. Although then that probably would have drove Farrah crazy as well. Like, what is he thinking about?
I need to know. I don't blame her, but it's still a little bit.
So then Starfall begins, and the sky is suddenly filled with what looks like shooting stars, but they're actually spirits on a yearly migration.
Okay, I was thinking there are connections, like, alluding to Crescent City in this little...
There are?
Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I will tell you after, because I
don't
know
remember.
a lot of people haven't read Crescent City yet.
I know. It's normally the last one people read.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think if there's any Throne of Glass connection. Like, do they have any, like, Starfall type celebrations?
No, I was thinking about that too, especially since the gods seem to be kind of like spirity in Throne of Glass, but I don't think so. Yeah.
But I feel like this is important.
I know. What do you think the difference between a spirit and a god is?
I think, like, the gods have, like, power over
spirits
things.
Are just like little...
I think, like, I don't know, it's hard because they kind of allude a little bit that, like, your ancestors can, like, help you, I feel like they can be, like, be there for you, but I don't think they have huge impact like a god would in this world.
So maybe these are people that have passed on.
That's what I thought they were.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Reese takes Farrah to a private balcony, and they, poke at each other again and realize both of them refuse to let people in and let others carry their burdens with them. They're both pretty prideful in, like, different ways where they think they're protecting, but their loved ones actually want to help them and care for them. And then they both get hit in the face by splattered star spirits and start cracking up. And I was like, wait, this is kind of sad. Are they dead?
Okay.
Oh, if the spirits were already dead, are they dead? Dead?
I don't know.
I was like, what is happening?
Why would they be hit in the face with, like, spirit balls
and spirit guts?
Did they just, like, take out someone's, like, eternal life?
That's what I'm wondering. And do the spirits not have, like, a sense of direction?
You know what? I did read something a few months ago about how people, like, theorize that this is, like, Reese's mom and his sister's spirits, like, pushing them together,
sacrificing their eternal lives.
But that's the thing. I don't know.
It could be. That's kind of cute.
It's cute, but
maybe
also
they just, like, sent a little, like, star spirit, like, poop down, like when birds poop on you.
So they're having fun with poop. They're playing with spirit poop. I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah, I was confused. But it led to a cute moment.
Yeah.
Farrah paints a little star on his hand with the spirit goo or spirit poop, whatever you want to call it. And this is a big moment for her since she hasn't painted anything since before Under the Mountain. They have this super romantic moment where they feel genuine joy for the first time together, and he kisses her cheek and she feels all warm and fuzzy inside. And do you prefer, like, the romantic tension that's building here, or do you like more sexual tension?
I like both.
Yeah.
I like both in a book. I think because we've gotten a lot of, like, the sexual tension between them, I'm like, oh, the romantic tension feels more satisfying right now.
Yes.
In the storyline. But I do like a balance of both.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love their romance so much, is because we get both. Like, we get the sexual tension and that, like, raw heatedness, but we also get the romance where they're truly falling in love with each other, which is why I think when we talked last week about enemies to lovers and stuff, books like The Hating Game are harder for me because it's like,
it's all sexual tension.
Yeah. I like romance.
Yeah. Okay, in this scene when they were being super cute, Reese, like, is like, oh my gosh, she smiled at me the first time, right? And he's like, smile again. And she did. And I was thinking, if my husband was, like, trying to be all cute and admiring me and he was like, just smile for me, I think I'd be so awkward. I'd be like, like, that's just, I don't know. It's, like, cute to read. I don't know how well it translates in real life, or if I'm just awkward in that way.
Do you get uncomfortable when Ty is just, like, staring at you in, like, a you're so beautiful way?
Yeah, I'm always like, what? What
Same.
do you want?
Same when Michael does it to me. I'm
me?
like, can you blink, please?
No, I'm just
Do I
like,
have something in my teeth?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or I'll be like, what? Like,
yeah.
What are you thinking right now? Like, I hope it's good.
Yeah.
So dumb. I've been with my husband forever. Anyway. The next morning, Moore, Cassian, Reese, and Feyre all head to the Illyrian war camp that the Bad Boys grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Feyre admits to herself again that she's attracted to Reese, but she feels like a traitor since it's only been 2 months since Tamlin.
Yes. Do you think in general that there is a timeline on when people can move on from serious relationships?
No, not really. And I try to be non-judgmental if someone like moves on quickly with whatever, because I mean, you can see in Feyre and Tamlin's relationship, it was dead a long time ago.
Exactly.
Right?
Like 2 months, really it's been dead since Under the Mountain, which would make it like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something I noticed is it seems like Feyre has like a really hard time being called a traitor, and she almost does it like she repeats this to herself, right? Like, you can't be a traitor, you can't be a traitor. Why do you think that's like so impactful for her?
That's a good question. I think it could be 2 or both of these things. One, she's very, very loyal, as we've seen, and so maybe she feels like that's contradicting to who her personality is, like her core belief of herself. And so she's very fearful of being that. I also wonder if she still subconsciously values what Tamlin thinks about her and what like Lucien and just the Spring Court as a whole. And even though she kind of is starting to give off this like no F's given vibe, that there's still a big part of her that doesn't want people to view her a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Amarantha ever call her a traitor?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was just trying to think if
No,
there was any like past trauma there.
I don't think so.
Okay. When Feyre is looking around at the camp, she like says she feels no joy here. There's like she does not really like it there.
Yeah.
We find out that Reese wants the females, the Illyrian females, to start training, but many of the war camp leaders don't let them. And the war camp leader that they're in, Devlin, he's making them do chores first and basically like taking up their time with chores before he allows them to train. Reese introduces Feyre, and she makes it clear to the Illyrians that she could be a threat.
Yeah, I thought this was such a stark contrast to how he introduced her to the Court of Nightmares. Why do you think this is?
That is a great question. I wish they would have made Feyre seem more like a threat in Court of Nightmares.
Me too.
I feel like that's a stronger choice.
Mm-hmm.
Than having her be like his sexual pet.
Yeah, I feel like eventually the Court of Nightmares realizes that that's not who she is, but
I wonder if it's because they didn't want it to get out right now that Feyre has extra powers.
Yeah,
maybe.
And the Illyrians don't really talk to anybody else.
No,
they're not in communication with. They seem to be outside of all the political games and all of that. They just do their own thing. They have their own traditions. They don't really want anybody messing with them.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that when Devlin was meeting Feyre, he like sniffs at her and says she smells like Amarin, which I'm like, okay, they're somehow connected.
Well, they're both made.
Amarin's not made, is she?
Yeah, that's why
I thought she came from like a different world.
But she's made in the sense that like her body's not hers.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like otherworldly smelling.
Yes, which is kind of how Feyre is. Like she's not supposed to exist here in a sense.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we get more insight into Illyrian life. So Reese banned wing clipping for females, but it started again under Amarantha. He said that they use the excuse for clipping females is to protect them, and I say that with air quotes if you can't see me. That's why they clip the females.
Ridiculous.
How is having wings endanger them? I think it's really dumb, and it shows how people in power, specifically men, will use the guise of like protecting women to just reinforce misogyny and power.
I agree. And I think here their argument is, well, if they, if their wings aren't clipped, then they have to train, they participate in the blood right, and there's no way that a woman would ever survive that because they're weak. And while I guess you could say we are typically weaker in nature, like physically, we can get stronger if we wanted to. And like if these women train, and I would argue that while we may be physically weaker, we are mentally and emotionally stronger. And so that plays a huge role in survival and being able to make it through hard things.
And I think it's a really dumb standard to say that being physically strong is the like gold standard of how we should view someone,
right?
Like
or that how we could succeed or be safe in this world. Like that doesn't mean you're safe just because you have muscles.
Yeah, and many women
have muscles
and are stronger than men. I weightlift, and even though I know I'm a skinny little scrawny girl, there are very many women in the gym that I admire because they are so strong, stronger than some of the men who are there. So I don't think this really makes me mad.
Well, and then I also think, like, you know the stories of, like, moms lifting cars to get their babies out from underneath?
Yes.
Anyway, I think they're scared.
Yeah.
That these females are going to be so badass, and they're going to take over, and they're going to win the blood right and all these different things that I don't even know if we've talked about yet. Did we talk about the blood right?
No.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm going to talk about it right now then.
Okay.
So we find out that Devlin is the only leader who will train, who is even letting females train. And then that all the novices that are training are to participate in something called the blood rite, which
there we go.
Morgan mentioned.
Yes.
And they all go, their whole mission in the blood rite is to like get to this mountain without supplies or magic. And a lot of them just end up killing each other. Also doesn't make sense for them to clip the wings because they can't use their wings during the blood rite. They're like tied up. So they're dumb.
Oh my gosh.
Feyre then trades information for Rhys by practicing her magic. So he's like, practice your magic and then I'll tell you something.
Yeah. Fun little game they do.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of though the monster in the like prison that they visited.
Oh yeah, like Tell Me a Secret. Yeah. The bone carver.
The bone carver. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So we find out that after the war, Rhys and Tamlin were friends, but Tamlin's father saw Rhys as a threat. Tamlin, his father, and his brothers used information that Rhys had told Tamlin about where his mom, Rhys's mom, and Rhys's sisters were going to be, and him. And Tamlin's family, went to that location, and Rhys wasn't there, but they still killed Rhys's mother and his sister, and then kept their wings as trophies. Rhys and his father retaliated and killed Tamlin's parents and brothers, but Tamlin killed Rhys before Tamlin could be
Rhys's father.
Sorry. Lot of names. Rhys's father. Yes.
Not a lot of names, actually. Just a lot of mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters.
It was too much.
Anyway, I have so many thoughts here.
Okay.
Do you feel like there's more to the story in regards to Tamlin's participation?
For sure. Like, I want to know, like, Tamlin, why did you betray your friend?
I kind of feel like there's a strong possibility that he was manipulated by his father.
I can see that.
And that maybe he wasn't, it's not black and white, you know? Especially since, spoiler alert, we later find out that Tamlin burned the wings and didn't keep them once he took over as High Lord. So, like, there has to be something there, whether it's guilt or, I don't know. I think he's going to get his redemption arc. I really
think so, too. I hope he does, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I also think that, I thought it was interesting that Rhys emphasizes that his dad was not supposed to kill Tamlin's mom because that was crossing a line, which kind of goes back to that conversation of, like, treating males and females differently. And this is just common in our society, too. Like, mothers and children are off limits. Why do you think that is?
Well, at least his mother well, I'm assuming she probably was never trained, so she never even had like a
Mhm.
fair shot to like protect herself.
And she didn't participate in the killing of Reese's family. So
True.
there's probably a high chance that she was maybe innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she didn't. And just knowing how the Supreme Court is ran, females don't have a lot of power anyway. So
Yeah.
she probably honestly didn't even know.
She probably couldn't have protected herself anyway, so it wouldn't have been fair.
No.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's also, I was thinking like it dehumanizes males, right? Like males can be killed or whatever, but females, it's like, oh no. I don't know.
It's really not fair to either side.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, it's not. So, do you feel like learning the full story on Tamlin and Reese's background, do you feel like that sheds more light into Tamlin, how we see him in the book?
It's a good question. I think I've said this before on different episodes. We both talked about it. How Tamlin's parents or his father seemed very cruel, and if he never had a community, or he clearly tried to make friends with Reese. He was trying to potentially do what Tarquin was doing, of like just trying to get to know him and create a companion and someone that he can learn from, and maybe he even had views of like a better world someday, who knows. But I think his father held a lot of power over him, and then once this happened with Reese and everything, I feel like that solidified Tamlin of being like, I like no mercy, kind of.
I wonder if, obviously Reese is very powerful, and I wonder if a part of Tamlin felt like, oh, Reese could probably protect him and his family. And then Reese wasn't there. And then
Reese was there.
He wasn't there when his mom and his sister were killed. Yes. It's okay. I didn't explain it very good.
I thought you were talking about when Tamlin's family was killed.
No,
totally. Maybe his dad was manipulating him, and he's like, maybe he thought he was gonna screw his dad over, and his dad was gonna die, and he was sick of his dad having this reign of terror over him.
Yeah.
And maybe that would have been explained eventually, but then when Reese and his dad came to get revenge, which the whole concept of revenge, I don't love it all the time.
Me either.
Yeah. Like, it kind of makes me sad. I get it. I get some, like, Amarantha needed to die, but there are times where I'm like, did that really need to happen in that way?
Most of the time, probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
While they're training, Feyre is learning all this, and you can tell that she gets really enraged from learning about what happened to Reese and Reese's family, and her power shows it. She's just like super powerful.
Yes, she explodes. And I love that we get a little bit of the like, who did this to you trope from a female, which we don't usually get.
I know, it's cute.
And then I already talked to you about revenge, but it was kind of like, it's interesting that she's so enraged that Reese, that his family was killed, but she doesn't care that Tamlin also lost his family. And even though, yes, his dad like initiated it, I don't know.
I know.
It's a little convoluted.
It is. It is.
All right. In chapters 46 and 47, Feyre and Reese train again the next day, and she's just constantly thinking about him now that she wants him.
They are very playful with their like mind shield. And I feel like Reese can always tell when Feyre is thinking about him.
Oh, totally.
He's always like pushing up against the shield, or like giving a little like something.
She'll be like, I felt a caress. Or like one time she's like, a lick down my spine. And I'm like,
know.
What?
I'm like, girl, how do you not know that he likes you?
I know. He's licking your spine through the shield. Like, I don't even know what that means, but whatever. She walks away from him to practice her firepower, and she's suddenly surrounded by Springcourt sentinels and Lucien, which we never did a little name corner for Lucien.
Me too.
But I wanted to do one, and also note that this is a spoiler alert, major spoiler alert for later in this book, near the end of this book. So if you haven't finished this book, maybe skip ahead a minute. Lucien is Latin for light, which is wild because his dad is Helion, he's the High Lord of the Day Court, which is all about light and healing. And Lucien and Lucifer are both derived from the Latin word light, which is also interesting because fire comes from the Autumn Court and is often associated with the Judeo-Christian version of hell. So it was just kind of interesting that the name has two associations, both one from his birth dad and one from his birth mom. Like, it just, I don't know. I feel like that was intentional, and if not, that's a really crazy coincidence.
It's for sure intentional. Yeah, that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and spoiler alert. Lucien tells Feyre they've been hunting her for months, and someone tipped them off that she'd be here.
Do we ever find out who tipped them off?
I don't think so. And I have a feeling it has to do with Rhys's magic or something.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And maybe a little foreshadow of like what the Spring Court is kind of doing and up to right now.
Yeah, I agree. He tells her that Tamlin is miserable without her, and she's made her point. It's time to come home. He also apologizes, but clearly still sees her as the High Lord's pet, just with the verbiage he's using and the way he's talking to her. And honestly, even though I think we're made to feel bad for Feyre, I also feel bad for Lucien here, to the point that it even got a little emotional that he, like, and Feyre sees it, like, Tamlin has so much control over him. Mm-hmm. And we really don't see that in the first book, but it's clear, like, he's desperate for Feyre to come back because Lucien's suffering, it seems like, under the wrath of Tamlin. So that made me sad.
I think this kind of goes with it. I was thinking about how he's really desperate, and I'm wondering if it's because he's not agreeing with Tamlin is what he's doing right now, and so he feels like if he can bring Feyre back, it'll stop Tamlin from this path that he's trying to go down.
Yeah, I agree. Feyre exhibits her power, her shape-shifting power, and grows those wings. And she tells Lucien that she will never return and calls him out on giving up on her and letting her waste away, which I loved. It was just like such a powerful moment of seeing how far Feyre has come. And it was interesting because Lucien continues to act like Rhys is the bad guy. He's like, your court's dead. Like, what did you do to her? And he still can't recognize that maybe nobody did this to Feyre. Like, maybe Feyre made her own choices and it has her own power and is doing this by herself. But what do you think Lucien is really thinking there? Do you think he was really thinking that Rhys is this terrible bad guy, or do you think he's just confused?
I think he's confused.
Yeah.
Again, we see like this, like it's just, that people cannot separate that, like, even though Rhys, who has a bad reputation, evil reputation, that he's like Feyre, who's like this kind-hearted, sacrificial lamb, is aligning herself with him. And you're like, it's not because she's a fool. It's because she can see past the bad boy mirror.
Yeah, and clearly there's a reason. And I think he's probably questioning that a little bit too.
Yeah.
Of like, well, why is she still with him?
Yeah. So after they finish training in the rain, they go to a random inn for the night where the only available room is a tiny attic room that is cold and has one bed.
Just one bed? What are they gonna do?
And there's, of course, no room for a second bed.
No, there's barely any room for their bodies.
You're a fan of the one room inn situation?
Most of the time, yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So Feyre imagines painting Rhys again, and he comments that he loves when she looks at him like his power isn't something to be afraid of.
I know. And then so Feyre says, well, I was afraid at first, and Rhys calls her out and said that he could never feel the fear, just nerves. Do you think this has something to do with the mating bond that Feyre wasn't sure about?
I think so, because she was... How often would she tell us that she was really fearful of Tamlin, Lucien, even like some of the lesser fae around? Like, they were like almost shocking to her.
Yeah.
Even though she described Tamlin and Lucien as very beautiful and like handsome, she never really had that fear with Rhys, right? She always was like, I don't know why I'm telling him all this. I don't know why I'm being so sassy.
Or like, I'm in awe of him. Like, he's terrifyingly but gorgeous and captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they share a meal together on the bed and discuss what happened with Lucien, and they both admit that if the other were hurt, they would have killed whoever did it. Okay. I noticed this on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen these.
I don't know.
But there is a connection between Rhys and another character in Throne of Glass named Dorian.
Yes.
And in this scene, Rhys says that he would tear the world apart to look for Feyre. And in Throne of Glass, Dorian says a very similar thing about tearing the world apart for one of his love interests.
Which one? Sorsha?
No.
Manon?
Selena.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
I do not remember
I
that.
know. I didn't remember that
so
either.
Early on.
It's so early on. And it's like, what the heck? But I think it's like this comparison of like love. If you really love someone.
Mm-hmm. And he fall like Dorian. It's well known that he falls hard and fast. So.
Yeah. And I love, people were saying this, but like, I love that Dorian ends up tearing up the world, but for a friendship, not for a romantic love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cute.
That's so cute.
I know.
I love them.
Yeah. So Rhys admits to Feyre how badly he wants her, and she admits that she couldn't stop thinking about him even at the spring court.
This is literally mate behavior to a T. Like Feyre not being able to stop thinking about him. Do you think if Feyre was born Fae, she would have picked up on things a lot quicker?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think definitely so. I think I can't remember. I think it's in, the next book where they talk about, like, we meet someone who knew their mate early on, but then the mating bond or whatever didn't snap into place until later.
Well, even Rhys says that he knew it, but it didn't snap into place until that moment under the mountain, which we'll talk about, I think, in the next episode. But
I just think it's interesting that, like, sometimes it's almost immediate, and then sometimes it's almost this, like, slow burn, this, like, slow inkling.
Yeah, where you're like, oh, I'm really attracted to this person. Is it just attraction, or is there something more?
Yeah. So then they go to bed and snuggle using body heat as an excuse. And Feyre tells him she just wants a distraction, something fun, even though she wants more.
Why do you think she lies to him?
Okay. I was kind of thinking about this when I saw your question. And Feyre mentions that she didn't want to give him the satisfaction of saying what he wanted her to say. But she never tells the reader, like, what she thinks he wants her to say.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's like, yeah, I want you.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, not said explicitly.
Right. And so she's maybe just playing the game still.
She's still not being honest with herself.
Yeah. Or she's like, oh, well, I don't want to tell him. Like, I'm going to make this a game. I'm going to make him work for it, kind of.
She's a little bit annoying sometimes.
She is. Some people really don't like her.
Really?
Yeah.
Because she's annoying like that?
Yeah.
Well, everyone has their flaws, okay?
I know. And I think they don't like how depressed she got. And I'm like, that's literally life. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
They're like, she's whiny. Like, she's whiny.
Okay. I would love for them to stab 2 people in the heart and then
be abused by their protector and lover.
And spend months in a underground cave being tortured by a psychopath.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Clearly I love Feyre.
And to be fair, I don't like give those videos my full attention.
Same.
So maybe there's more to the story. And I'm just like hearing the bits and pieces and being like, I don't need to give you my time. Don't mess with my girl.
Okay, it's so obvious that he doesn't like her answer being like, it's just for fun. It's just a distraction. But he gives her what she wants.
Yep.
And then she goes to sleep.
It's one of those, like, you can't touch me, just let me touch you.
Yeah.
That happens in, like, every SJM book.
Okay. Spice rating.
Yes.
Pineapple salsa.
Okay.
Sriracha. Cholula. Tapatio. Ghost pepper.
Ooh. Cholula?
Okay, I was thinking Cholula too.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if I've ever read a ghost pepper.
I don't, me either.
And I don't think I ever will, personally.
I'll read one and I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah, let me know. I guess if I go off of my scale of what I've read, if I have to, like, pick the spiciest scene, ghost pepper would be in Silver Flames.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is Cholula for sure.
I think so. It's very heated.
Yes. I liked it. Okay, chapter 49. They train the next day, and they don't talk about the night before. They start to fly home when Rhys begins to admit something to Feyre, but then he gets shot with ash arrows and throws Feyre into the forest, which was kind of a weird description. They're flying, and he literally, like, catapults her away.
It confused me.
I think he was really trusting, like, she's going to use her powers to make sure that she doesn't just plummet.
I love it.
Yeah. Just like,
well,
get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think it was survival too.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm going down. She's not coming down with me. Farrah figures out how to winnow, and she winnows through the forest and tracks him down.
Okay. She says she smells her scent on him. Hello, such a huge clue that they're me.
We just do that all throughout these chapters leading up to everything. I thought it was cool that when she's in the forest, she's able to shift only her eyes in order to be like animals so she could see in the night, which was really cool.
I wish I could do that.
I know. Okay, shape-shifting would be really cool.
Yes.
Also scary.
Yeah.
Like, how do you trust that you're going to go back?
And that's the scary thing. Like, what if you forget what you look like?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I don't know what I'm look like unless I'm looking in a mirror or a picture.
Yeah, same. And then 2 seconds later, if someone was like, draw yourself. Well, first of all, I can't draw. But if I could, I would be like, it'd be all messed up.
I need a mirror. Yeah. Same. She kills the guards that are guarding Reese. She finds them in like a cave or something, and she kills them by slicing their necks with ash arrows. So savage. And frees Reese, but he is really, really hurt.
I feel like they're right here in this little scene. Mm-hmm. There's a huge shift in Farrah fearing having to kill another person because obviously that has caused her a lot of trauma for obvious reasons. And now almost reveling in the revenge kill.
No, she's literally like, I ravished this or whatever. What's the word?
It reeks.
I can't smell it. It'll get to me soon.
Okay.
She relished in the kills.
Yes.
And yeah, it's the revenge thing. So very cool, I guess. I shouldn't say cool to describe death.
They're fake. They're not real.
Yeah, there you go. Farrah winnows them. Farrah winnows her and Reese to another cave she saw earlier during the day to make sure they're safe, and talks to Reese while taking the ash arrows out of his wings.
So when she's doing this, she tells him about the drawers that she painted and how she, what kind of each one she did. I saw on TikTok that in the early stages of SJM's planning, she had Nesta and Lucian as endgame.
Ooh,
and that's why Nesta has flames. What do you think of this pairing?
Oh, I think Nesta would eat Lucian alive.
I agree. I'm so glad that she changed this because Lucian would be walked all over.
100%.
It probably wasn't this version of Lucian.
Or this version of Nesta.
No.
Who knows?
So,
yeah.
Who knows?
Okay, another little spoiler alert for really the end of this book and the beginning of next book. There's an interesting foreshadow here because Farrah mentions how much her sisters would love Valaris and that Nesta and Amren would be quick friends and Elaine would likely cling to Azriel. It's literally what happens.
She knows her sisters very well.
She does.
Yeah.
Farrah tells Reese that she painted herself as Night and she feels that she was always looking for him. And Reese tells her it was the King of Hybern soldiers using ancient chains to nullify his powers who captured him, which is kind of a little Throne of Glass connection because it's iron, but they use chains to nullify powers as well.
Mm-hmm. In chapter 50, Farrah is watching Reese throughout the night and then realizes that he has a fever, probably due to the poisonous ash arrows that were in him. So she goes to capture the cereal to find out how she can help Reese. And the cereal, oh my gosh. The cereal spills some major tea.
Our favorite tea spiller.
He tells her, or it tells her that her blood can heal people and that she can heal Reese if he just drinks a little bit of her blood.
No big deal.
Just a little.
He's literally drinking. Like, just a couple gulps. I'm like, okay.
And then he tells her that Reese is her mate and that Reese has known for some time.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So Farrah gets a sense of the cereal allowed itself to be caught by her almost like as a favor for saving it from the Naga.
Yes, which is like more karma. Oh, and she also, I want to say last time, was it the cereal that said something like, I like your cloak, or I just need a new cloak or something, and that's what she used to trap him this time.
Yeah, and I felt like I feel like it definitely was like, hint, hint, I'll help you next time. Just give me a little lovely coat. And
yeah, I don't need a chicken.
Yeah.
Just a cloak. Yeah. Thought that was kind of cute.
I know, it is cute.
Yeah.
So Feyre then heals Rhys, and she's pissed about him not telling her that they were mates. He also shares that he suspected since meeting her, but knew when Amarantha killed her, and then felt it snap into place when they were talking under the mountain about everything what happened.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Feyre's anger is justified? I feel like she forgets that like he is also her mate, and he is also like a part of this like equation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he didn't know what to do with the information, and yeah, he deliberately held it from her, but it's like, I don't know.
So I think we talked about this on the episode my sisters were on. I think Madeline brought it up, how she would have been pissed at the point that other people knew and Feyre didn't. And that is what I can understand, of like being upset. Oh, you told your friends, but you didn't share it with me. But then another part of me is like, well, that's a really heavy burden to bear on your own. So maybe he needed to tell somebody. We all have somebody that we confide in. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it.
Amber just sniffed it out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to...
Right. And later we get a big explanation that I think Feyre also understands then why he did it. And I do too. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It would have scared her away.
It really would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feyre then demands Rhys to winnow back to the Illyrian camp, even though he's really hurt.
Yeah. So. And when she's like having her internal dialogue, she says that her heart is breaking, and it wasn't even until this moment that she'd realized her heart could break, because she hadn't realized that he had healed her heart enough to be able to break again. And I totally cried.
It's so sweet.
I totally cried reading this again. It was so precious.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, chapter 51, Cassian and Mor are at the camp, and Feyre asks Mor to take her to a place far away. And Cassian immediately runs for Rhys because he can tell that Rhys is harmed, because basically, like, Rhys winnows them in and just collapses. But Mor stops because she sees Feyre's face. And I love that Feyre said back at the beginning of the book she could see Mor as being a friend, and now she really does have a true girlfriend in her, and it's like her first female friend. It's like, clearly something's wrong. You're heartbroken. I'm going to take care of you. And I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit testament that, like, Mor doesn't, even though she's known Rhys for a really long time and they're technically, like, kind of related, Feyre is still really important to her.
Yeah. I mean, that's her high lord, too.
Yeah.
Mor takes her to a cabin and tells her it's guarded and only their family can enter, so she's safe. Mor says that Rhys really wanted to tell Feyre about them being mates and that she's never seen him so happy. Mor also says that she didn't think this had anything to do with the mating bond. Like, she thinks that Rhys was happy outside of that. Do you think the mating bond can cause happiness in love, or does that come about naturally? Because we've kind of talked about how we don't really understand how it's this, like, the deepest connection anyone can have, but then there can be no love. I don't understand how you can have a super, super deep personal connection with someone without some sort of love.
Yeah, and maybe some people do have a love, but not like an in love. It just seems that with the mating bond, you can kind of like enter, like someone can like share their whole mind with you.
Yeah.
Like, especially at this point, that's kind of what we see like Rhys and Feyre do. Like they can like literally like go into each other's minds, and that's like really vulnerable. But I don't know. It's kind of weird because I think of like Rhys's like father and his mom, and they do not seem like they were ever like in love. I mean, we know they weren't.
Yeah.
But
they couldn't stay away from each other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It feels icky a little bit.
It does. I don't fully understand it because most of the time we see the mating bond as being like this really romantic, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But Feyre says she doesn't care about his excuses for not telling her.
I love that she says this because how many times, not just, I know, like, who hasn't been like, I don't care, when you're like actually super really care.
Yes, and it could be something as small as where do you want to eat dinner?
And you're like, I don't care.
You pick. And then it's like, I actually care. Please pick Panda Express.
It's so silly.
I know. Mor says she'll be back in 3 days and the house will give her anything she needs. And then she pieces out.
I love it.
Yep. And that's where we end this recap. Okay. I had like an overall question for you, and so I thought we could have an orquat as well.
I'm sorry. Orquat is like the ugliest but best word I've ever heard.
Overall recap questions of the episode. Okay. When you read this for the first time, so think back. Mm-hmm. When did you read this? Last fall? Last summer?
I think it wasn't that long ago. I read it over the summer. I read it in August.
Oh. I read it in May, so not that long ago either. Wow. Look at us.
Or like July.
Yeah. When you read this for the first time, were you surprised they were mates?
At this point of the book, no.
Same.
It was just a little too obvious. I thought you're like almost hoping they were mates. Yes. You're like, come on, please be mates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, when you read this for the first time, what did you think was going to happen when Farrah left pissed off? Did you think it was going to last?
I did, but I was like, Farrah, you have the most gorgeous man in the world.
I know, get over it.
I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, those are my orc watts today.
Were you pissed that she left, or were you? How were you feeling?
I was. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I think I was, but obviously we have a bird's eye view,
I know.
And so it's like, of course he didn't tell you. You were literally depressed. You were a vacant human, and you were in love with someone else.
Yeah.
He actually did the right thing by not telling you, because you probably would have felt pressured to be with him when you were still at the spring court. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, get over yourself.
I almost wish that like mates could also be presented as like, you're just like, you could be my friend. And like, it doesn't have to be like always this like sexual romantic thing.
But it's really confusing.
I know.
I need SJM, I need a handbook to matehood. A little guide.
To mating?
To mating. Yeah. I need Okay.
Let's go to Wheel of Fortune.
Woo!
Okay.
Spin that wheel.
What if Reese told Farrah that he was her mate? And I have like 3 different scenarios.
Okay.
What if he told her under the mountain when he saw her?
Like the first time, or at the end?
The end, when he saw her as a fae and they're like talking and he's like, oh, this girl's my mate.
That also would have been a really great way to end the book.
Oh, it really would have.
But she would have been terrified because she's on this high of, oh, I'm in love with Tamlin. We finally get our happily ever after. We haven't even gotten to the bad stuff with Tamlin yet. So she would have been like, you're lying. I think she would have been like, you're evil. Mm-hmm. You're lying to me to try to mess with your enemy. Yeah.
I think that sounds like Farrah. I think you're right. Okay. What if he told her after the wedding ordeal?
I think that she still would have viewed him as like this bad guy, how she kind of was. But I think it would have planted a little seed in her of like, okay, well, what does this mean?
That means Tamlin isn't my mate.
Yeah, and maybe it would have been a little freeing for her, but I think she was so depressed that it would have still been a really bad time to do that.
I agree. Okay, last one. When they saved her,
like when Moore took her out of the house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would have been, can you imagine how overwhelming and overstimulating?
I know. I'm like, when would be a good time?
There wasn't one. That's the problem. Farrah, get over it. You whiny girl.
It's like
all the haters coming out.
Okay, this is a really bad analogy, but I'm just going to say it.
Just do it.
It's like when someone has something in their teeth or like a booger and like you're trying to tell them, but like you don't know how. And then it's been like an hour.
And you don't want to embarrass them.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell a story. It's about my mom. This is my mom's story. She wouldn't mind me sharing.
Okay.
My mom was on an interview panel. She was the person interviewing the person.
Uh-huh.
It was after lunch, whatever. They go have an afternoon where they interview all these different people. She gets home. Huge lettuce stuck in her teeth, like right in the front. And she's like, no one told me. I was interviewing all these people. She's on a panel. So there was like her coworkers also were there.
They're like, when would be a good time? What's your mom's name again?
Esther.
When would be a good time for us to tell you that you had food in your teeth?
I don't know.
When we were interviewing this person, or this person.
I feel like if I were to be interviewed and the person had something in their teeth, it would make me feel, I would be so off kilter. I would be like, I can't form a question because like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It would be distracting.
And then as an interviewee, you'd probably want to tell them, but you're like, you don't want to make this.
Yeah.
Especially on a panel. Maybe if it was one-on-one. Ooh, good analogy. Thanks. It's just like this. Okay. A little in our Prithian era.
I thought of 2. more.
Ooh,
but you
okay.
can share yours that you thought of.
Okay, because I don't think of as many because I'm not I know a lot of Taylor Swift songs, but Katie's the genius. So
people are more crazy than me.
I know, but you're like the craziest one in my life. So
okay.
So I thought for Farrah and Reese, since it's a little like Farrah's like, I want this, but do I want this? Like, obviously she's pissed, but she also very clearly is in love with him. So I thought of Sweet Nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like they just want, I think for Reese, you know, he's lived his life as this very powerful High Lord. Like people always want something from him. Protection, his power. They fear him, whatever. Yeah. And with Farrah, she's just like, I just love you for you.
I know.
It's very sweet.
Which is so precious.
I know. Okay. When you were describing Farrah and like with Lucien and how she like was like, I'm never going back. I was thinking she told Lucien, the old Farrah can't come on the phone right now. She's dead. Yes. So definitely.
Oh my gosh, Farrah's in her Reputation era.
She really is. Where she's just like super in love, but also a little baddie.
Yeah, and she's trying to make some points.
Yes. And then we kept bringing up like Karma.
Hello.
I know. And look, Karma is Farrah and like all of SJM's main characters.
Yes.
God.
Yeah,
she is.
Yeah.
Karma is there for the SJM characters.
Really. Oh my goodness, how fun.
Yeah.
What a great episode. Okay, well, thank you everyone for listening. Our next episode is going to be chapters 52 through 60.
You can follow us on Instagram
at It's Fate Pod.
Thanks. I can never remember if it's pod or podcast.
TikTok's podcast.
Okay.
So TikTok at It's Fate Podcast.
YouTube
at It's Fate Pod.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
And subscribe to all our channels.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.